From a brother and sister who murdered their stepmom to an 8-year-old serial killer, today FactFaction looks at 5 of the youngest killers. "14-year-old Barry Dale Loukaitis received 2 life sentences and an extra 205 years for a shooting spree that occurred at Frontier Middle School in Washington. In 1996, while dressed as a Wild West shooter, Loukaitis armed himself with one of his father's rifles and 2 pistols and walked into his school and murdered 2 students and a teacher who were in an algebra class at the time. Another student was also critically injured. According to many reports, as Barry saw his classmates panic, he shouted, "This sure beats the hell out of algebra, doesn't it?" A quote from one of Stephen King's novels titled Rage, the contents of which closely mirrored Barry's situation, as it was about the main character holding his algebra class hostage and shooting 2 teachers. For a short amount of time, Barry held hostages in the hopes of escaping from the scene. However, once teacher and coach John Lane entered the classroom, students were swiftly evacuated, and Loukaitis was tackled to the ground where he was held until police arrived. Currently, Barry Loukaitis is serving 2 life sentences, alongside 205 years of mandatory time at Clallam Bay Corrections Facility. In recent years, the Supreme Court ruled that sending juveniles to prison for life without the possibility of parole is cruel and unusual punishment, and ordered defendants like Barry to be sentenced all over again. A resentencing will certainly be a polarizing choice for the community and for the victims' families. In 1999, brother and sister Curtis and Catherine Jones were both arrested for the murder of their father's girlfriend. The 2 children, who were 12 and 13 years old at the time, had gotten a hold of their father's 9mm handgun and shot 29-year-old Sonia Spites dead. The details of the murder were hazy for quite some time, and the motive initially was believed to have been through an act of jealousy. However, it was later revealed that the kids had both suffered from physical and sexual abuse in their family home. The pair claimed that they were both abused by a male family member who lived in their house and who even shared a room with Curtis. Child Protective Services were informed a number of times of violence in the home, however they failed to take any action. In addition to their father's girlfriend, the children later revealed that they also had planned to murder their father, as well as the man who they say was responsible for the abuse. The pair were the first children at the time to be charged as adults, with first-degree murder, but after some pleading, this was changed to second-degree murder. They were found guilty and were each sentenced to 18 years in prison and a life of probation. In mid-2015, the 2 siblings were both released from prison at the ages of 29 and 30 years old. While behind bars, Curtis Jones was ordained as a Christian minister. Catherine said that she looks forward to catching up on all the things she has missed. Mary Florabelle was a mere 10 and 11 years old when she murdered 2 young boys in 1968. Born into a less than favorable family, her mother was a teenage prostitute who later married an armed robber. Mary did not have the best start in life, and she had a reputation in her home area of Scotswood as a delinquent. On the day before her 11th birthday, Mary murdered a 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown by strangling him in a derelict house. Shortly after the incident, a local nursery was broken into and vandalized, and notes, which were written in child's handwriting, were found by police, which spoke about the murder. Just 2 months later, 3-year-old Brian Howe's body was found in a wasteland, close to the first crime scene. His death was also caused by strangulation. Police linked the 2 murders and took action by interviewing local children. 2 stood out, Mary and another girl named Norma, as both of their answers were indefinite and their stories changed numerous times. The pair began to accuse each other. Eventually, both girls were taken into custody and were charged with the murders. Police claim that Mary had returned to the second crime scene and had carved an M into the child's stomach. She also cut off some hair before scratching his legs and mutilating his private parts. At the trial in 1968, the two girls admitted to breaking into the nursery and leaving the notes there. However, it was Mary's attitude that stood out the most. While Norma was frightened and confused, Mary remained confident and calm. After almost 10 days' deliberation, a jury eventually found Mary guilty of manslaughter and sentenced her to life imprisonment. Although Norma was present when the second murder took place, she was acquitted and found not guilty. After spending 12 years behind bars, Mary was released in 1980 and left prison with a new identity. Greeted with a media uproar, she published a biography in 1998 titled Cries Unheard: The Story of Mary Bell. In a murder that shocked Britain as a nation, John Venables and Robert Thompson were both only 10 years old when they murdered a 2-year-old named James Bulger. On February 12, 1993, instead of going to school, the two young boys spent the day in a shopping mall in the town of Boodle, where they shoplifted many items, including a can of paint, batteries, and sweets. As well as petty theft, the boys were also on the lookout for a child to kidnap. At around 3:40 p.m., James Bulger and his mother were inside a butcher's shop, which was located on the ground floor of the mall. Venables and Thompson spotted the young boy in the shop and decided that he would be their unlucky victim. As James's mother was briefly distracted, both boys approached the toddler and took him by the hand and led him out of the mall. After walking for over 2 miles, they eventually ended up at Walton and Anfield railway station, where they began torturing the helpless toddler. Some of the 42 horrific injuries the young boy suffered included many bruises, cuts, and fractures. The boys had placed batteries inside his mouth, poured paint into his left eye, and threw bricks and stones at him. James Bulger was eventually put out of his misery as Venables and Thompson beat his head with an iron bar. After the brutal murder, the two boys placed his lifeless body onto the train tracks to make it appear like an accident. After police released grainy CCTV footage from the shopping mall, a woman came forward and identified John Venables as one of the boys. Both Venables and Thompson were subsequently arrested and were charged with the murder.
You're under caution, and you do not have to say anything unless you wish to do so, but anything you say may be given in evidence. Now, you understand that, don't you, John?
Yeah.
All right. I have a photograph here, which is a video camera photograph.
That's me. That's me.
So, the boy holding James's hand is you.
Yeah.
And the boy ahead of you, in the dark jacket and trousers, Robert Thompson. And what was it you told us?
That I killed James.
Can you just tell us what happened?
He took me in the rail shop and started throwing bricks at him. And then...
Who did?
Robbie.
Why did he throw bricks at him?
No.
He hits him where exactly?
In the face.
In the
I
face.
think he hit him in the eyes.
And he hits him in the eyes. Right.
Now, was James making any noises
He
then?
was knocked out.
He was knocked out. Was he moving at all?
After they both confessed, they were given sentences, which meant they would remain in custody until they reached adulthood. The two boys, now men, are unable to explain why they committed the horrific crime. After being released in 2001, Venables and Thompson were both given new identities. In 2010, John Venables was sent back to prison on child pornography charges. Amarjeet Sada has been named India's youngest serial killer, and for a good reason. Born in 1998, this young boy, at the age of 8 years old, murdered 3 babies in cold blood. Sadha's first victim was his 6-month-old cousin, who he killed in 2006. A few months later, he went on to murder his 8-month-old sister. According to various sources, Sadha's family and some people living in the village knew about the murders, but did not report them because it was considered as family matters. Sadha's final victim was a neighbor's 6-month-old daughter. The young boy abducted her from the village primary school and took her to a field and beat her to death using a brick. The other 2 children were believed to have also died in this way. When asked about the disappearance of the neighbor's daughter, Sada confessed to the killing and even led police to the place where the murder had occurred. The 8-year-old then also confessed to the murder of his sister and cousin. So why did he do it? Sadha's motives are unclear, but when questioned, police say he just smiled a lot and asked for biscuits. Medical experts believe he has a conduct disorder, and due to a severe chemical imbalance in his brain, he receives a sense of gratification from inflicting injuries on others. It's not 100% clear where Sada is now, but some reports suggest he is living in a hospital and seeking therapy to help cope with his mental illness. Because he was sentenced as a juvenile, according to Indian law, the maximum sentence for his crimes would have been 3 years. Sada will now be 18 years old, and there is a chance that he is now a free man.